My name is Coda Whitlock, 12th Division Scribe. My report on the failed salvage contract 3 days ago follows as such. 6 adventurers entered the Thornveil wilds. Only one returned. This is what the sole survivor told me before walking back into the forest.
We were hired to map a safe route through the Thornveil Wild, an old overgrown forest said to contain a forgotten ruin site on the far side. The Wardens had documented it centuries ago, but no modern expedition had confirmed it still existed. The contract was simple: enter, map the route, retrieve any salvageable artifacts, and return within 3 or 4 days. We should have known better. The Thornveil is not the kind of place you just map. It's the kind of place that lets you believe you're making progress, right up until you realize the path you've been following was never truly there to begin with. Our party was solid, experienced. Thomas led the vanguard, a knight through and through. Steady, disciplined, the kind of man you trust to stand in front of anything that goes wrong in the dark. Corin was our tracker, the best I'd ever worked with. He could read a forest like a written language. Prints, broken twigs, shifted soil. If anything moved to the Thornveil, Corin would know. Mira handled range support and foraging, quiet, sharp-eyed, always observing more than she spoke. And there were 3 others. The names, I keep forgetting them, which is strange because I remember everything else perfectly. Their faces, their voices, the exact cadence of their laughter, the way Thomas would glance back at them whenever they stopped walking for too long. We crossed the tree line just after dawn on the first day, and the forest swallowed us without a sound. The forest doesn't attack. That's what everyone says about the Thornveil, and it's technically true, but that's exactly what makes it wrong. It doesn't attack because it doesn't need to. On the second day, we noticed this light. Not dim, that would have been normal. The Thornveil is always dim beneath its canopy. But no, this light was wrong. It filtered through the leaves in structured bands. They were too evenly spaced, too deliberate, like something had arranged them in the canopy with intent, like geometry imposed over nature. Corin had noticed it first. He stopped, looked upward for a long while, and then pointed it out. Yet we kept walking anyway. That night we made camp. The firewood burned, but it didn't crackle. There was no pop, no hiss, no collapse of shifting embers. It was just silent. A silent fire is something your instincts project before your mind understands why. We sat around it anyway. No one had spoken much. Not because there was nothing to say, but because speaking felt like it would make the silence aware of us. We were 3 days past the tree line when Corin finally spoke again. He said the birds had stopped. At first I misunderstood him, and then I looked up. And they were still there, perched on branches, suspended midair, wings extended as if frozen mid-flight. They weren't dead, they weren't falling, they had just simply stopped, held in place between one moment and the next, as if time itself had briefly lost interest in continuing them. Mira said quietly that maybe the forest was listening. Thomas just gave a short, uneasy laugh and asked what a forest would even listen for. But Mira did not answer. She was already staring deeper into the canopy, like she expected it to answer for her. We didn't make camp that night. We kept moving even after the light disappeared completely. No one suggested stopping, not because we were afraid to speak, but because stopping felt like surrendering to something none of us could name. That was when I realized something I still don't fully understand even now. We weren't being hunted, we were being guided. We found the clearing on the 4th night, or rather, we arrived in it, as if it had always been waiting for us. There was no transition, no gradual thinning of trees. One step forward and the forest simply ended, and the clearing began. The boundary between them was too clean, it was too precise, and the clearing was ringed with roots. Not small ones, but massive, pale structures, almost white beneath the moonlight. Thick as ancient tree trunks, they rose from the soil and curved inwards. Every one bent towards the center, like fingers, like something buried beneath the earth was slowly curling its hand into a fist. Around us. We should have left immediately, but Thomas began setting up his tent anyway. The roots subtly shift as we worked. Subtle enough that you could deny it if you wanted to. But they were leaning, slowly, deliberately, towards the fire and towards us. Mira noticed it too. I saw it in her face the moment she understood everything she didn't want to understand. But she said nothing, and none of us asked her to. We sat around the fire that night, or what remained of it. The flames still burned, but silently, like they were ashamed of making noise. Then Thomas stood up. He didn't announce it. He didn't hesitate. He simply walked forwards, towards the clearing, towards the roots, towards whatever waited beneath them. I don't think he chose to move. I think something else chose through him. Don't, Corin said. Not a command, not even panic. Just a single word, quiet, almost unsure, like he already knew that it wouldn't matter. Thomas placed his hand on one of the roots, and the clearing reacted. Not just the root he touched, but all of them, every root in the clearing, every root beneath our feet, every root buried deeper than we could see or understand. It wasn't a response, it was a communication, like something vast beneath the earth had received a message, and it answered instantly. Like a held breath finally released, like something ancient had remembered that it was awake. They didn't run. That's what I need you to understand. If they had run, if they had screamed or fought or tried to escape, this would be easier to explain. But they didn't. They just stopped, the same way the birds had stopped, the same way the forest had been quietly stopping everything around us since we had entered it. Thomas was first. His hand was still on the root, his sword still at his side, his body still intact. But something inside him simply ceased. Not death, but it was something more absolute, like a thought ending when the mind decides that it is finished. Then went Corin, then Mira, then all of the others, all at once, or maybe not at all. Like the forest asked a question without words, something carried through soil and root and wind, and they all, without hesitation, answered yes. I saw it in their eyes. There was no fear, no pain, only recognition, like hearing your name called from somewhere familiar, and turning without thinking. I ran. I didn't decide. If I had decided, I would have stayed, out of loyalty, out of duty, out of the simple human refusal to abandon the people you had come in with. But I didn't decide. I just ran. The forest didn't even stop me. The roots didn't reach for me. The clearing didn't close. It simply allowed it. Like I was no longer part of what it wanted. Like I had already been accounted for. I ran for hours, maybe longer. Time stopped making sense the moment I left that clearing. The forest felt different on the way out. Quieter, smaller, almost polite, as if it was stepping aside, making space, because I wasn't something it needed anymore. Eventually, I reached the edge of the Thornveil. I should have kept going. I should have never stopped, but I can hear them now. Not clearly, not loudly, just present. Thomas, Corin, Mira, the others whose names I cannot remember anymore. They are not calling for help. They are not screaming. They are simply there. And the worst part, the part I can't explain, the part that makes me tell you all of this to begin with, is that they are not afraid. They are patient, like they are waiting for me to finish crossing something I started a long, long time ago. Like this was always the outcome, like they had already answered. And now it's my turn. I think I understand what they're waiting for, and I think I'm going to answer them.
The survivor stood from the chair without another word. For a moment, it seemed like he no longer saw me. Then he turned, walked back towards the tree line. I called after him. I did. The recording will show that I called. But he did not slow. He did not hesitate, and he did not look back. He simply walked into the dark between the trees and disappeared. I did not follow him. And I want that recorded clearly. I did not follow. I do not believe that anyone should. The contract was never completed. The report was never filed. And somewhere in the Thornveil wilds, a salvage party of 6, perhaps 7, continues to wait. If you ever hear the birds stop singing, if the light turns the wrong way through the canopy, if the forest seems to lean towards you instead of away as you walk, do not touch the roots. Do not stop moving. And whatever you do, do not come back.